Welcome to this explainer. Have you ever looked at those old historical paintings or maybe visited a traditional home and just wondered? Wondered why our ancestors so often preferred sitting flat on the floor instead of using a dining table? For the longest time, we kind of just assumed dining tables were, the absolute peak of civilized progress. But today we're unpacking why the simple act of taking your meal on the floor is actually a literal masterclass in human biomechanics.
Okay, let's dive into this. It's a remarkably simple question, right? Why did our ancestors prefer the floor? Now, it's incredibly tempting to look back at history and just assume, well, people sat on the ground simply because they didn't have access to a local furniture store. We tend to think of the dining table as this ultimate technological upgrade, especially when, let's be honest, for a lot of us modern adults, just getting up off the floor requires a strategic plan and maybe a few loud groans. But the material we're looking at reveals that sitting on the floor absolutely wasn't just a lack of better options. There were highly practical, physiological, and social reasons behind it. It was a conscious, functional choice, a real piece of hidden genius. So let's unpack how this seemingly basic habit was actually a highly sophisticated approach to daily living.
So when our ancestors sat down to eat, most of them weren't just lazily slumping onto the ground. No, they sat in a specific cross-legged position, traditionally known as Sukhasana. Now, just think about our modern, quote-unquote, advanced dining habits for a second. We buy these incredibly expensive, ergonomic padded chairs only to just slouch. We round our shoulders, lean way too heavily on our elbows, and completely disengage our core. But Sukhasana, it's entirely different. It is a highly active posture. By simply crossing your legs and sitting on the flat ground, you're utilizing an ancient human technology that naturally forces your spine to align. You literally have to hold yourself up. It's actually wonderfully ironic that our modern dining setups might in reality be a physiological step backward from the grounded brilliance of Sukhasana.
Now, what's really fascinating here is how these physical benefits actively compound on one another. I want you to actually mentally feel this for a second. Imagine you're sitting on the floor right now. To prevent yourself from just falling backward, what happens? Your body instantly and gently engages your core muscles. You aren't leaning back against the cushy rest, your own abdominal wall becomes your support system. And because your legs are crossed, you're continuously promoting flexibility in your hips and knees just by sitting there. The improved posture, the flexibility, the core engagement, all of these physical benefits are happening automatically. You're actively conditioning your body while doing absolutely nothing but sitting down for dinner.
And this brilliantly illustrates how the simple act of eating transforms into dynamic movement. Because sitting on the floor isn't static. It demands a specific mechanical rhythm. First, you have to physically bend forward to reach your plate and take your food. Second, to pull yourself back to an upright position, you must engage your abdominal muscles. And third, you sit back up to chew and swallow. Bend forward, engage the core, sit back up. Over the course of, say, a 15 or 20-minute meal, this repetitive mechanical process acts as a subtle micro-workout. You are continuously flexing and releasing your midsection with every single bite you take.
And here is where that micro-workout pays off in a truly surprising way. That continuous abdominal engagement, the bending forward and sitting back up, it does so much more than just tone your muscles. It actually serves as a physical catalyst that helps stimulate digestion immediately. Think about it. Your stomach and digestive organs are situated right there in your core. By continuously flexing and moving that area as you eat, you're physically aiding the digestive process right from the very first bite. You aren't just putting food into a stationary receptacle. Your body's movement is actively cooperating with your digestive system to start processing the meal right then and there. It's absolutely brilliant. This physical motion also builds into our mental relationship with food, completely altering the pace of a meal. When we eat quickly, which is so easy to do when we're hovered over a dining table just shoveling food in, our brain completely misses the internal signals that tell us we've had enough. This disconnect leads directly to overeating. But sitting on the floor encourages much slower eating. The physical effort required to move back and forth naturally paces you. And slow eating is the absolute key to mindfulness. When we eat slowly, our brain is given adequate time to recognize that we are actually full. This ancient posture acts as an internal engine for mindful eating, naturally reducing the chances of overeating simply by shifting our physical geometry.
But the brilliance of the floor meal goes far beyond just biomechanics and digestion. There's a deeply powerful social aspect to this practice too.
Sitting on the floor acts as the ultimate social leveler. When everyone is gathered on the ground, everyone is at the exact same physical level. There's no head of the table, there's no visual hierarchy created by, who gets the brand armchair and who gets stuck on the wobbly stool at the end. It strips away status and creates a deeply shared, intimate family experience. You are all grounded, literally and figuratively, sharing the same space in the exact same way. It fosters a sense of unity and equality that a long rectangular dining table just naturally disrupts.
So does all of this mean that floor eating is scientifically superior to dining tables? Well, not necessarily, but it reveals something incredibly important about how our ancestors lived. By simply choosing to eat on the floor, they naturally integrated a brilliant three-part habit formula into their daily lives. First, movement, through that continuous core engagement and physical pacing. Second, mindfulness, by slowing down the eating process so the brain can actually register fullness. And third, community, by sitting at the exact same level to foster a profoundly shared experience. They wove these vital elements into an everyday routine without anyone ever having to explicitly label it as a trendy health habit. It was just life.
So the crucial point is perfectly captured in this realization. Maybe our ancestors weren't following a strange ritual after all. When we look past our modern biases, we see that this wasn't an outdated curiosity. It was a deeply intuitive, functional choice. They were taking a basic, necessary daily action, just having a meal, and transforming it into a holistic practice that nurtured their bodies, protected their digestive systems, and bound their families closer together. It's a stunning realization of hidden genius, hiding right in plain sight in our historical record.
Which brings us to a fascinating crossroads between the ancient world and our modern lives. Now that you understand the biomechanics, the digestive benefits, the mindfulness, and the social connection that comes from this simple practice, I want to leave you with a thought to ponder. We spend so much time and money today trying to hack our posture, hack our digestion, and fix our family connections. What if the answer is as simple as moving the plates off the table? Would you try eating on the floor today? Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer. Keep learning, stay curious, and I'll see you next time.